In today's video, we're diving into a major issue that's shaking up the U.S. farming industry. Recent actions by Canada have sent shockwaves through American agriculture, and the ripple effects are being felt across the country. Whether you're a farmer or simply curious about how this impacts the food you eat, stick around as we break down the background, the recent developments, and the potential fallout of this ongoing trade drama. To truly understand what's going on, we need to rewind and look at the history of trade between the U.S. and Canada. These two countries have been economically intertwined for years, with agriculture playing a central role. U.S. farmers have long relied on Canada as one of their largest markets for products like grains, livestock, and dairy. On the flip side, Canadian farmers depend on the U.S. market to sell their goods. This partnership was solidified by major trade deals like NAFTA and, more recently, the USMCA. These agreements made it easier for goods to flow across the border, benefiting both sides. But here's the twist. Things have taken a dramatic turn. The trade tension between the U.S. and Canada is escalating. The U.S. has imposed a 25% tariff on a range of Canadian goods, including agricultural products, which is causing significant disruption. This move is part of a broader strategy by the U.S. to protect domestic industries and reduce the trade deficit. However, Canada didn't just take it lying down. In retaliation, they've slapped their own tariffs on U.S. products like corn, soybeans, and beef. And now the entire farming community is feeling the pressure. So who's feeling the most pain from these tariffs? U.S. dairy farmers have been hit especially hard. For years, they've relied on Canada as a major buyer of their products. But now, thanks to these tariffs, exporting dairy to Canada has become significantly more expensive, which has lowered demand and pushed prices down for American farmers. Many dairy farms are struggling financially, just trying to stay afloat while watching their futures hang in the balance. Those growing corn and soybeans are also feeling the effects. Canada has been one of the biggest buyers of American grains, but the retaliatory tariffs have thrown a wrench in those sales. Prices have dropped, leaving farmers with surplus crops they can't sell. It's not just a hit to their bottom line, but to the entire industry, with low commodity prices and stiff competition from other countries making things even tougher. Beef and pork producers are also in a tough spot. With the cost to export livestock to Canada soaring, demand is dropping and prices are spiraling. Imagine running a business where your revenue is plummeting while your costs are skyrocketing. That's the reality for many livestock farmers right now. Some are even being forced to downsize or scramble to find new markets. But this issue goes beyond just the farmers. There's a bigger picture unfolding. The impact of these tariffs isn't being felt equally. Large corporate farms, with their deeper pockets, may have the resources to weather this storm. Smaller, family-owned farms, on the other hand, are really getting squeezed. Many of these small farms simply don't have the financial cushion to absorb the extra costs brought on by the tariffs. This is accelerating the trend of farm consolidation, where bigger operations are scooping up struggling ones. This shift could permanently change the agricultural landscape. And let's not forget the human side of the story. Farmers are already under immense stress from unpredictable weather, market instability, and now this trade conflict. The emotional toll is real. Families and entire communities are living with uncertainty as financial pressures mount, and mental health struggles are becoming a growing concern. It's not just about numbers, it's about people's lives. So what happens next? Well, the uncertainty could have ripple effects far beyond the farming community. If these tariffs stay in place, it could impact local economies. Businesses that rely on the agriculture sector, like equipment suppliers, local processors, and even restaurants, will start to feel the pinch as farmers struggle. Entire communities that depend on agriculture could be headed for an economic downturn. Here's where things get interesting. The world is watching. Other countries like China, Mexico, and the EU could see this tension as an opportunity to step in and fill the gap left by reduced trade between the U.S. and Canada. This could create new opportunities for U.S. farmers, but also new challenges. Adjusting to new markets isn't always easy, and it could leave American agriculture more vulnerable to global market volatility. Let's talk about technology for a moment. As farmers scramble to survive, many are looking toward innovations like precision agriculture to improve efficiency with water, fertilizer, and labor. This tech is essential for boosting profits in tough times. But here's the issue. These technologies can be expensive. With trade uncertainty looming, farmers are hesitant to make such large investments. It's a tough spot. Farmers need to innovate to stay competitive, but the financial strain is making that harder than ever. As for the long-term outlook, this trade dispute could reshape the agricultural industry in ways we can't fully predict. If things don't improve, we may see a restructuring of U.S. and Canadian agricultural practices. In the worst-case scenario, some farmers could be pushed out of business, and North American farmers might struggle to keep up with shifting global trade patterns. But on the flip side, there could be new opportunities. Countries around the world are paying attention, and if the U.S. and Canada can work out a better deal, it could reshape the future of North American agriculture in a more sustainable, forward-thinking way. The bottom line is that this trade conflict is far from over, and its impact is still unfolding. Farmers will continue to face tough choices: innovate or stay the course, fight for market share, or explore new opportunities. The uncertainty is palpable, but one thing is clear: this situation will define the future of farming for years to come. Now let's dive deeper into the broader implications of the trade tensions between Canada and the U.S., exploring both the immediate and long-term consequences for the agricultural sector, trade relations, and the global economy. While the primary focus has been on Canada and the U.S., the effects of this conflict are being felt globally. Agriculture plays a key role in the world economy, and disruptions to the trade of essential goods like grains, meats, and dairy could have far-reaching consequences. Countries, especially in the European Union and Asia, are closely monitoring the situation as it could influence global food supply chains, commodity prices, and trade agreements. These trade imbalances and tariff battles are symptoms of broader economic trends, with nations reevaluating their reliance on traditional trade partners. They're diversifying their economic engagements and exploring new ways to protect their domestic industries from the volatility that tariffs and protectionist policies bring. In this context, Canada's actions to diversify its trade partnerships may serve as a blueprint for other nations looking to shield their agricultural sectors from the impact of trade disputes. By increasing exports to the EU and China, Canada is positioning itself as a key player in the evolving global market. As the world's second-largest exporter of agricultural goods, Canada's ability to adapt to new trade dynamics is essential for maintaining its standing on the global stage. This shift is also reshaping the business models of Canadian farmers. Instead of relying on the U.S. as their primary market, Canadian farmers are now forced to innovate and seek alternative markets. Embracing international trade agreements with more favorable terms is becoming a necessity. This is reshaping everything from production strategies to export logistics. Furthermore, as Canada strengthens its ties with China, we could see increased demand for products like soybeans and other key agricultural commodities. However, this new trade relationship presents its own set of challenges. Adjusting to these changes won't be easy. Stay tuned as we continue to monitor this ongoing trade saga and its far-reaching impacts. The political complexities surrounding trade with China play a significant role in shaping economic strategies, offering a crucial hedge against the uncertainties generated by the ongoing trade war with the United States. Farmers in the U.S. have been hit hardest by the trade dispute, particularly those relying on exports to Canada. The imposition of tariffs has led to lost markets and, in many cases, reduced profits. While the U.S. government maintains that these tariffs are necessary to correct trade imbalances, the reality on the ground is much more complicated. Agricultural commodity prices have been volatile, and many farmers are left vulnerable to unpredictable global market shifts. Once traded goods between the U.S. and Canada are now subject to higher costs, making them less competitive in international markets. In response, U.S. farmers are exploring new export opportunities, but ongoing uncertainty makes it difficult to predict future market trends and income stability. Many are increasingly concerned about the long-term viability of relying on tariffs as a primary trade policy. There's a growing call for more comprehensive trade policies that prioritize the interests of farmers and other stakeholders rather than relying solely on punitive measures against trade partners. These concerns could lead to political shifts in the U.S., as lawmakers seek a more balanced approach that considers the needs of both the agricultural sector and broader economic interests. Both the Canadian and U.S. governments have played critical roles in supporting their farmers during these tough times. In Canada, financial assistance programs and subsidies have helped ease the economic burden of tariffs, signaling the government's commitment to its agricultural community. Similarly, the U.S. government has introduced programs like trade mitigation payments and direct financial aid for farmers impacted by trade disruptions. However, these measures are seen as short-term solutions, and many farmers are calling for reforms that protect them from future trade shocks. Looking ahead, the impact of trade tensions between Canada and the U.S. may extend beyond agriculture. Global supply chains that depend on the free movement of goods could face significant disruptions as tariffs and trade barriers grow. The agricultural industry, in particular, is highly interconnected, with countries relying on one another for essential commodities. As tariffs rise, businesses that depend on these agricultural imports will be forced to reassess their supply chains, potentially leading to shortages, delayed shipments, and higher costs, impacts that will be passed down to consumers. For example, Canadian dairy exports to the U.S. could face higher tariffs, creating a shortfall of certain dairy products in the U.S. market. Conversely, U.S. agricultural exports to Canada could face similar challenges, affecting the pricing and availability of key goods on both sides of the border. Moreover, countries with strong trade ties to both the U.S. and Canada, such as Mexico, may find themselves caught in the middle as supply chains become more fragmented. As global trade relationships become increasingly volatile, businesses will need to become more agile, adapting to new trade routes and logistical challenges. In response to this shifting global trade landscape, many countries are turning to multilateral trade agreements as a way to safeguard their economic interests. Regional partnerships like the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPE, and bilateral trade deals allow nations to diversify their markets and reduce reliance on any single partner. Looking to the future, U.S. farmers may turn to emerging markets in Asia and Latin America, while Canadian farmers could deepen their relationships with the EU and China. Both nations will likely continue advocating for policies that protect their agricultural sectors from global trade volatility. Policymakers, farmers, and trade experts will need to collaborate to navigate this evolving landscape. It's clear that the era of seamless trade between the U.S. and Canada is over, but that doesn't mean new opportunities aren't on the horizon for those willing to adapt. The trade tensions between the two countries highlight an important truth in global economics. Trade is dynamic, and the balance of power is constantly shifting. Adaptability is key for countries and industries that rely on open markets and free trade. In conclusion, Canada's strategy to diversify trade partners, strengthen domestic support, and engage in diplomacy is a critical model for navigating today's global trade challenges. Meanwhile, U.S. policymakers must reassess their approach to trade, ensuring long-term protection for the agricultural sector while promoting fair and balanced relations with trade partners. Although the current tensions may be a short-term setback, they also present opportunities for innovation, collaboration, and growth. As the global agricultural industry faces new trade realities, flexibility, resilience, and forward-thinking will be key to thriving in the years ahead. Thank you for watching. If you found this analysis insightful, please like, share, and subscribe for more videos on critical global topics. We welcome your thoughts, so feel free to leave a comment below and join the conversation. Stay informed